The House Committee on Labor will come to order. Will the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Hadsma.
Here.
Representatives Menser.
Here.
Colazar.
Here.
O'Neill.
Present.
Andrews. Here. Churches.
Present.
Wagella. Here. Wozniak.
Here.
Mueller. Here. Kuntz.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Might I have a motion to adopt the minutes from the March 7, 2024 meeting? Okay, we'll take a motion here. So Representative Kuntz moves. The minutes are adopted. Today, we're here to take testimony on House Bill 5461. I'd like Representative McFall to come forward and present his bill to the committee. With him are Mel Seifert from the AARP and John Scott from Pew Charitable Trust. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Committee, for this morning. I appreciate you guys taking this up. I'll get right into it. My bill, House Bill 5641, will create the My Secure Retirement Program in the state of Michigan. My Secure Retirement is a public-private partnership, much like the Education Savings Program, the 529 program, where the state will contract with a private fiduciary to provide retirement services for employees who are not offered some sort of retirement program. This will be professionally managed and compliance will be overseen by the state. My Secure Retirement is necessary to save Michigan tax dollars and allow people to be fiscally independent in retirement. The fact is that when people do not have enough to live on in retirement, taxpayers end up footing the bill. Over a 20-year period, insufficient retirement savings amongst Michigan's older population will cost the state $11.2 billion in additional social assistance spending and another $26.2 billion in federal spending. The average person needs about $1 million in savings to comfortably retire, and as of 2020, 42% of Michigan private sector employees completely lacked a retirement plan. There are people in our state that, as of now, will never be able to comfortably retire. My Secure Retirement is a tool that small and micro-sized businesses can take advantage of to retain and attract talent. Many of our smaller businesses struggle to compete with the benefits offered by corporations and big business. My Secure Retirement will allow these businesses to be more competitive and level the playing field compared to their larger counterparts at zero cost to the business. While not required to, the program would also allow for 1099 gig workers and other self-employed individuals to sign up through the program. My Secure Retirement is a win for small businesses looking to attract and retain talent, employees who want fiscal independence, and taxpayers who save money on the back end. We need to take action to allow people to retire and age comfortably with dignity, especially with the uncertainty and unreliability of Social Security for future retirees. If we do not act in Michigan and provide a way for our working population to save for their retirement, then taxpayers will be forced to pay increasing public assistance costs for our senior population. I urge your support on HB 5641, and I welcome any questions. Thank you.
Ms. Seifert, Mr. Scott, any additional testimony you'd like to offer?
Thank you. My name is Paula Cunningham. I am the state director. I'm honored to be the state director of AARP Michigan and working alongside these awesome volunteers, some of who are represented here today. As I'm sure most of you know, AARP Michigan is a nonpartisan, nonprofit, social mission organization that works on behalf of those who are 50 and older to help improve their quality of life as they age and to strengthen their communities and advocate for whatever matters most to them and to their families. In our listening sessions and surveys throughout the state, and we've had a lot of them, there are two issues that have consistently reverberated in almost every forum we've conducted, and those issues center around health and wealth financial security. And at some time, I'd be happy to talk with you about the connection between health and wealth, but for the conversation today, I want to strictly focus on financial security. Other than our awesome volunteers, some of who are in this room, there's an additional reason that AARP has been successful for 65 years, and it is because we have learned to stay in our lane and focus on the things that we do best. So as a self-described physically conservative leader, When the issue of a secured retirement continuously surfaced, I asked myself, why is that our problem? Are we responsible for whether or not people save enough money for retirement? Shouldn't someone else be teaching them about savings? It can be easy for those of us who have access to retirement programs and/or those of us who know how to manage them. It would be easy for us to be dismissive of the opportunities for other people to do the same thing. It's easy to say it's not our responsibility to make people save, and that is correct. However, AARP is the nation's largest advocacy association for older adults. And in our role as a wise friend and a fierce defender of those 50-plus, we do have a responsibility to try and remove any barriers that help prevent people from aging with dignity and having choices about how they age. House Bill 5461 removes some of those barriers and provides people with a mechanism to save, and that certainly would improve their quality of life. It doesn't force anything on them, but it removes barriers to make it easier for them to make wise decisions. You've been sent some of the survey information, so you can see that 70% of people surveyed said that they would participate in the savings program if it were offered. Earlier, I mentioned listening sessions. AARP, and I'm proud to say this, we do very little without first listening, researching, and surveying issues. We've been in listening sessions across this great state with SBAM, the Small Business Association of Michigan, with the Michigan Chamber, Michigan Works, United Ways, CEOs of all size companies and workers. And our surveys support what we've heard over and over again in those sessions. 92% of Michigan business owners think more should be done to encourage Michigan residents to save for retirement. Nearly 3/4 of Michigan small business owners say they would support a privately managed plug-and-play retirement savings option. As Michigan tries to attract new businesses to our state, there's no question that having a retirement savings plan is an attractive recruitment and retention tool for small businesses. 79% of small business owners have told us that. There is also no question that small businesses are the cornerstone of our economic success, and they are the primary reason that Michigan's economy continues to thrive. We need to do all we can to support them. So if 92% of small businesses think more should be done to encourage Michigan residents to save for retirement, and fewer than 10% of Michigan households regularly contribute to an individual retirement plan outside of their jobs, it doesn't take my college degrees to realize there is a disconnect. And I submit to you today that that disconnect is the opportunity to save. House Bill 5461 provides that opportunity. 813,000 small business employees in Michigan and 751,000 employees at businesses with over 100 employees and 100 workers do not have access to a retirement plan, and they want that opportunity. And if that reasoning isn't sufficient to help you cast a yes vote, allow me to share one last statistic with you. Our Public Policy Institute, one of the best in the nation, has estimated that the state of Michigan could save almost $82 million over 15 years if lower-income retirees increase their retirement income by just $1,000 a year. People want to save. They need to save. They just need a simple, effective, and reliable mechanism to do so. So I repeat my original question. Is it our responsibility to make sure people save for retirement? No. But it is our responsibility to help remove barriers. And if we can remove this barrier and create opportunities that make it easier for people to save, shouldn't we do that? Your support of House Bill 5461 affords people that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. And Mr. Scott, do you have anything to add?
Yes. Good morning. Thank you, Chair Hadsma, Vice Chairs Menser and Wozniak, and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify. My name is John Scott, and I direct the Retirement Savings Project at the Pew Charitable Trust. Pew is a nonpartisan, nonprofit public policy organization. I testify today in support of House Bill 5461, the Retirement Savings Program Act. The legislation would make it easier for hundreds of thousands of Michigan workers to save for a financially secure and independent retirement. In Michigan, over 1.5 million private sector workers lack access to retirement savings at their jobs. many employers want to offer a retirement plan, but report they cannot because of high costs or administrative burdens. As a result, many households have inadequate or even no savings for retirement. Now, of course, people can save on their own, but research from AARP shows that people are 15 times more likely to save when they can do so through payroll deduction. All Michigan taxpayers will bear the cost of inadequate retirement savings. Results from a study Pew commissioned last year found the number of Michigan households with residents aged 65 and older is expected to increase from 1.1 million to just over 1.5 million by 2040. As Michigan ages, a relatively smaller population of working-age taxpayers will cover the cost for the financially vulnerable. Because many households will fall short financially in retirement, some will need social assistance. Cumulatively, over a 20-year period ending in 2040, insufficient retirement savings will result in additional state social assistance spending via programs like Medicaid of over $11 billion. However, if all Michigan households saved on average an additional $180 a month, they could erase this additional taxpayer cost. And this is possible through an automated savings program as proposed in House Bill 5461. The bill would provide access to workplace savings at private sector employers that do not offer a retirement plan. Such employers are required to facilitate the program without charge by registering for the program and processing payroll deductions, and they cannot be required to fund the accounts. Employees are automatically enrolled to save into their own Roth IRA, but can change contributions or opt out at any time. 16 states have now adopted these automated savings programs, with 8 already active. In the states that are reporting data, 212 employers now provide retirement benefits, and 845,000 savers, averaging $177 a month, have amassed $1.3 billion in assets in just 7 years. Because of their wide adoption, Pew looked at these programs in terms of how they affect employers, employees, and the private market for retirement plan products. My written testimony has more details, but to summarize, in 2020, Pew surveyed participating employers in Oregon, the first state to launch one of these automated savings programs, to assess their views. Nearly 3 in 4 employers said they were either satisfied or neutral about the program, but the smallest firms reported the highest satisfaction levels. Oregon doesn't charge businesses any fees, and 79% said they haven't experienced any related out-of-pocket costs. Regarding employees, Pew surveyed workers in the Illinois program, and importantly, 38% said the program made them feel more financially secure, versus only 14% who felt the program made them feel less financially secure. And a state savings program would complement the vibrant private market for retirement plan products. Employers providing their own plans will continue to do so. And employers in this proposed state program can adopt their own plan at any time. The automated savings model should not replace existing retirement plans because 401k plans and others, like other plans, offer significantly higher contribution limits than the state programs, offer a wide range of investment choices, and allow employers to contribute to employees' accounts. Indeed, analysis by Pew and others found that not only are employers still adopting their own retirement plans in states with these programs, but that there is a higher rate of increase in new plans adopted by employers in states with these savings programs relative to states without such programs. In other words, rather than competing with the private market for retirement plans, state programs complement the private market. In conclusion, Pew strongly encourages the committee to pass HB 5461. Thank you for the opportunity to provide our views, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you all. Do we have any questions? Representative Colazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Point of clarification. This retirement program would be portable depending on if I go work for somebody and then I go to a different employer and a different employer. It's portable, correct?
Correct. It follows the employee. Okay. So if you start at one position and you move to another position, you still have you maintain the same account.
And then my question would be, so if I move out of state, I can't continue to contribute to that program because it's not in Michigan anymore. I would have to transfer it to something else, an annuity, something like that.
Correct.
So if I drew the
Just a
conclusion.
second. I want to make sure.
Okay.
Well, the employee always owns the IRA.
Yeah.
And so you could contribute, even if you moved out of state, from your own funds to your own IRA. much like anybody can today.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is, could you make an argument that this is motivation to stay in Michigan and keep it in that consistent program?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I mean, if you're already settled here and you already have an account here, I mean, I would think that would help encourage.
I look at it like this. A lot of, for example, under the old pension system
Yeah.
for teachers, you're motivated to stay in a district because you have to get vested in that pension and you're there for 10 years. By the time you're there for 10 years, you're part of that community. Kind of the same idea. That's what I was trying to see if there was a parallel there.
Okay.
No, absolutely. I think that the fact that this is a retirement benefit, and that helps retain workers, and we feel that's especially important for small businesses that often lose out to bigger companies that have a broader suite of employee benefits. So yes.
Any other questions? Representative Menser.
Thank you, Chair. Way back in 2012, 2013, this economy took a little dive here, and I happened to be the union steward and on the negotiating team for ASME. We sat down with our employer and we bargained some changes in benefits so that we didn't have layoffs. One of the things we did was we got rid of the defined benefit pension plan. Now here we are a little over 10 years later, and we are short 40 officers because they have left and gone to employers with a defined benefit pension plan. That simply tells me how important an employer-sponsored with a payroll deduction plan, a retirement plan is. So when you consider that a little over 90% of small businesses in the state of Michigan with 20 employees or less offer no program like that, the change that will make for businesses, for the continuity of employees and to retain employees, and for the employees to have a savings for retirement, to me that's huge. And I will tell you I'm in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Representative Kuntz.
Ma'am, I'm a small business owner. I think I'm the only one on the committee, and I'm a member of AARP. I'm not the only one on the committee there, but the question when they asked the survey was a very leading question. And you didn't ask, do you want to participate in a mandatory IRA as governed by the state of Michigan, right? So when you ask that question like that, would you like to save more? Sure. Do you want to add more government bureaucracy? Well, that's a different question. So I question why we take it that way. That was not a transparent question.
Yes, and we asked that question before a bill was even drafted. Okay, so we didn't know whether it was going to be mandatory, voluntary, or what the marketplace driven. We did not know at that time when the survey was launched.
So I'm just pushing back on the numbers when they say so many people want to do it. And now, sir, when we come over here and here we have states are adopting plans at a higher rate in companies are adopting plans at a higher rate in states that have adopted this.
Yes.
Causality is because it's so bad. Because when the state gets involved, when the government gets involved, the employers realize this is awful. That's why they're doing it. If it was good, if it was a good policy, it would be less. And your numbers reflect that businesses are saying, we can do this better on our own. The state plans in the 16 states are so onerous and so bad for our employees, we have to get involved. So this is not a carrot, this is absolutely a stick.
Well, I would respond by saying, I think it's a fair question about what's the causality here behind the numbers. That's always a tough one to answer when you look at data. But we do know, and speaking as a former benefits consultant, and also from our data at Pew, we do know that a lot of employers, they don't offer retirement benefits right away, especially small business. If they're going to offer benefits, it might be health insurance or paid time off. So when the state comes in and says, we have this program, you should enroll your workers, or you can opt out by adopting your own retirement plan, there are a lot of employers who are thinking about a 401k. And they decide, well, I'd like to have my own customized retirement benefit package for my workers. The other point I would make, and I believe it's in my written statement, is that we found that a lot of small businesses are lining up to adopt these programs or enroll in these programs. And in fact, I believe in Oregon, 27% of businesses signed up for the program more than 3 months before they had to. And in California, in 2022, 33,000 businesses signed up more than 90 days before they had to. So I think there's a demand there, I'm sure there's mixed views across the business community, but I think there is a demand there.
Representative Wagella.
All right, I have three quick questions. Hopefully that's okay. The first one, just on the subject of mandatory, my understanding is that people can opt out if they want to, correct? Okay. Yeah, I thought maybe that was missed. Then 1099 workers, this wouldn't apply to them, correct? Or, because I just don't know if you talked about that.
It wouldn't be a requirement, but it would be an option. They would be able to do it. So like if you had like a salon, say, and the people are renting the chairs, they would have the opportunity to actually sign up.
Okay, good. And then with Roth IRAs, what is the current contribution limit? Is it like 7,200 or something this year? And is there anything in the bill regarding
I
that?
think it just moved up to 7,500.
7,500?
From
Okay.
7,000, yeah.
And then I guess with that, just any particular reason choosing a Roth over anything else, or just out of curiosity?
I think in all the state programs and all the 16 programs that have adopted this, they have the option to have a traditional IRA. They go with the Roth for a couple of reasons. One is you can contribute after-tax money, and then you can pull your contributions out as the worker at any time. And for a lot of workers who have moderate wages, they find that appealing, so that if they need the money in an emergency, they can get to it. But also, a lot of workers don't have the need for the tax deductibility of the traditional IRA. So it's kind of a practical choice on a couple of levels.
And just a quick comment about the mandatory. It is not mandatory, as you articulated, for the employees. They can opt in or opt out. Research has shown repeatedly, though, that if an employer offers it and says it's a 1% reduction every month that goes to a savings, fewer employees are apt to opt out of it, to call the HR and say, I don't want to be a part of this. I also was a small business owner for 15, 20 years, and I can tell you that the small businesses that we've spoken to, they would like to offer this type of a program, whether it's mandatory or not, that's up to you. But research has shown in other states, am I correct, that when it's not mandatory, it's not nearly as effective. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. We are going to go off at the ease. We are going to, I would say off record, but what do we say here? Go at ease. Go at ease. I apologize. We haven't done this in here before with me. We're going to go at ease at the call of the chair. We have an issue with the computer. We have a technician coming up. It's going to take about 3 minutes, and then we'll be able to hear some additional testimony from those giving testimony virtually. Thank you. The House Labor Committee will return to order. I believe we're back up, and next we're going to take testimony from Johnny Bellows of the Aura Company virtually. Good morning, Mr. Bellows. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, members of the Labor Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story as a small business owner. My name is Johnny Bellows Jr., and I own Aura Company, LLC, a construction company based out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I'm here to speak in favor of House Bill 5461. As a lifelong Michigander, I grew up seeing my parents work hard, wanting me to have a better life with more opportunities. Michigan has long invested in me and my future. I was born and raised here, attended schools here, and have experienced the benefits of being a Michigander. I was encouraged by the possibilities of success to open my own construction management business in 2018 here in Michigan to give back to my community. With over 25 years of experience in the construction industry, climbing the career ladder in the industry until I opened Aura Company, I've seen the challenges of our industry and our industry faces, and when it comes to being competitive with hiring, finding consistent workers to fill jobs, and financial ebbs and flows that owners and workers can be faced with. Like most businesses, the COVID-19 pandemic hit us hard. It was a financial roller coaster. We were faced with supply and demand issues, finding consistent workers for our projects, and much more. But like many small businesses, Aura Company was resilient. I used these setbacks as an opportunity to expand my business by leveraging investments and grants from our state to increase our commercial construction capacity. Business additions in the area of transportation and logistics led me to hire full-time employees for the first time. We now employ 3 employees, several contractors that fluctuates depending on the number of projects we're managing at one particular time. Since I started my business, competing to find the best talent has been my pain point. I'm not only having to focus on bringing new projects in and expanding the business, but I'm also responsible for finding staff, looking into benefit packages, and prioritizing where we invest our funds. Rarely do I have additional time or financial resources to think about adding something as important as retirement benefits. I see a state-facilitated retirement program as an important way for Michigan to invest in its small businesses and incentivize us to grow. Small businesses are the engines of our economy, directly benefiting everyone by helping our economy grow. A program like this would benefit me in many ways, but the most important benefit offered to my businesses is longevity. I'm encouraged by the state I am encouraged that the state is considering solutions that would invest in our small businesses. If passed, it will support the people who work for me, help me to compete with larger companies to be able to offer retirement benefits, and give me time to focus on growing my business. I urge this committee to vote in favor of the bill to invest in our state's small businesses so we can continue to give back to Michigan. Thank you for your time today and the opportunity to testify.
You're welcome. Are there any questions of Mr. Bellows? Thank you, Mr. Bellows.
Thank you.
We're next here from State Senator Brian Pettyjohn from the state of Delaware. Good morning, Senator Pettyjohn.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the House Labor Committee. Thank you, and good morning from the first state of Delaware. I want to thank you for allowing me to testify today. I'm Delaware State Senator Brian Pettyjohn, a Republican from Delaware and the Senate Minority Whip. And I was one of the sponsors of the Delaware Earns program, an auto IRA program for Delaware employees. The Delaware Earns, or Expanding Access for Retirement and Necessary Savings program, was first enacted in September of 2022, making Delaware the 16th state in the United States to create a state-run retirement program for private sector employees. According to the Georgetown University Center for Retirement Initiatives, nearly 40% of private sector employees in Delaware do not have access to retirement savings through their workplace, and those are primarily employees of small businesses. The Delaware Earns program aims to serve small businesses as well as middle and low-income private sector employees who lack access to retirement savings. In my conversations with businesses throughout the state who do not currently offer employee-sponsored retirement plans, and with multiple state, county, and local chambers of commerce, they're excited for this program to begin, to be able to offer retirement savings accounts that larger employers are currently able to offer with little extra work on their part. Michigan Secure Retirement shares the goals and can achieve the same level of economic freedom for employees and future retirees in Michigan. In 2022, almost half of American households had no savings in retirement accounts, according to the Survey of Consumer Finances. Lack of retirement savings in the United States will cost state and federal governments an estimated $1.3 trillion by 2040. As a fiscal conservative, these numbers are staggering and concerning. My Republican and Democrat colleagues and I recognize that the tax savings on an auto IRA program would have on Delaware, which is why we advocated for Delaware Earns. The tax savings for this program will save Delaware millions of dollars, alleviating the tax burden on Delaware residents and setting up our aging population for fiscal independence. The requirement for employers is minimal. The process to sign up employees for Delaware Earns is streamlined, non-burdensome, and integrated with employers' payroll systems. This process takes only an additional 5 to 10 minutes for employers when onboarding a new employee. Delaware also joined in an interstate partnership, the Partnership for a Dignified Retirement, with Maine and Colorado's auto IRA programs. This interstate partnership will allow Delaware to share resources, expertise, and training, which cuts overhead costs of the program, providing even further taxpayer savings. These auto IRA programs work, they save taxpayer dollars, and they'll help workers now save for retirement later. Thank you again for allowing me to testify, and I would be happy to take any questions from the committee.
You're welcome. Representative Colasar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your testimony. I'm curious if there's any public opinion polling in Delaware, how residents in Delaware have responded to having this option available to them.
Well, the program is not yet implemented. They're still being set up. We enacted it in 2022. It should be starting here this fall. We do have a regulatory process that had to be set up here in Delaware first. But when we polled workers here in Delaware, they found that they were largely supportive of it. It's one of those things where a lot of people say, well, I want to I want to start saving for retirement, but I don't necessarily know how. They don't have access to a financial advisor, especially if they're in those workplaces that don't currently have one of an IRA or a 401k or a pension plan that's attached to it. So by and large, employees were happy about it. And of course, this is an opt-out program. So if they decide at some point in time that they need that extra few dollars in their paycheck, they can go to their employer and opt out of the program. It's not mandatory. It's an automatic in, but it is an opt-out. So they do have the flexibility to drop out of it. If they're starting to make more money, they can go ahead and increase the default contribution rate as well. So it provides them with that flexibility, and it's not something that's mandated that they have to do.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Representative Wozniak.
Thank you very much.
Wait, we got a last-minute question.
Yeah.
Okay, go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. Do you know how much the state of Delaware is going to have to invest in this program in order to get it off the ground?
Yeah, the initial investment, and I pulled up our fiscal note on it the other day. The initial investment's actually relatively low, and it diminishes every year. I believe it was $1.2 million total that we're going to have to invest before it becomes self-sustaining and will eventually pay for itself. We have a committee that's set up until the board is set up and fully running, and it's really administrative costs that are associated with that. I believe it was 1.2 million to start, reducing in year 3 to a self-sustaining value out of the general fund. So we wouldn't have to pay anything out of the general fund to maintain it after year 3.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think we're completed then with questioning. Thank you, Senator Pettijohn.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You're welcome. We're next going to hear from Karen Locke from TIAA. You're welcome.
Can you hear me better? Great.
Yes.
Chairman Hadsmer and members of the Labor Committee, thank you so much for your opportunity today. My name is Karen Locke, and I'm here on behalf of TIAA, a national financial services organization that manages over $1.2 trillion in assets for more than 5 million clients, including 32 million in retirement assets for more than 145,000 Michiganders. We were founded in 1918 by Andrew Carnegie to make a difference in the life of educators, and we believe that everyone needs access to a well-structured, reasonably priced retirement plan. And that is why we support my retirement savings program in Michigan. Almost half of all private sector workers do not have access to a workplace retirement savings program today. TIA recently released a retirement bill of rights that starts with the basic principle that every American worker has the right to save for a financially secure retirement. The Retirement Bill of Rights is designed to address the retirement's insecurity, which affects millions of Americans, including the 40% of U.S. households that risk running short of retirement funds. In Michigan alone, there are 1.5 million employees, which accounts for 42% of private sector employees who work for an employer that doesn't offer a retirement savings plan. When you break down that demographic of who is saving less, we know women have a 30% savings gap for a variety of reasons, including we live longer, we make less dollars compared to men, we take breaks from our professional life, averaging about 9 years, and we're more likely to take part-time jobs to care for our family. So we save less over the course of our working life. We also know that 54% of Black Americans and 64% of Hispanic workers do not have enough retirement savings, of which 78% of workers at firms with fewer than 10 employees face these same challenges. The implementation of this well-designed plan can change the landscape for workers without a retirement plan in Michigan by making retirement savings simple through automatic savings and auto-escalation provisions. The state will empower these same employees to take command of their financial future with easy-to-understand investment programs, with an efficient administrative approach by the state to submit savings on behalf of their employees. TIA has engaged in these types of initiatives since its infancy in 2017. We have provided testimony to support these programs dating back from Oregon all the way to Washington and now in front of the great state of Michigan. The success of these programs have resulted in passage of 16 programs and 8 are actively running. These programs have given more than 800,000 workers the freedom to save over $1 billion since 2017. We support House Bill 5461 for all the above reasons so that you can help close the retirement savings gap for the demographic of individuals who really need it the most. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Locke. Are there questions? Representative Wagella.
Thank you for your testimony, and just kind of want to state that I, have this general belief that retirement and should be essentially a dignified retirement should be a human right in this country, and I think would love to see Social Security get fixed, but we also have to live in the reality that we live in now. So I have a couple questions. How much do you see through the work you do that what would you say people need to save in order to retire in this country in a comfortable way?
So we have the best practices is about anywhere between 10 to 15%. 15% is wonderful of your income, your yearly income per year, so that you can save for a dignified retirement. But any step in the right process is better than none. So if you're not saving right now, you ultimately become a burden to the state, and luckily, if you have family to help you. But this is just a first step in the right direction.
I guess what I was getting at more is like, is there like a number out there? I know sometimes they say you need $1 million or $2 million, et cetera. I know that number changes over time too. And the reason I ask is because if we implement a program like this and an employer at the age of 18 invests $100 a month, which granted might be difficult to do at the age of 18, but let's just say that you did, and you did that for 47 years in a Roth IRA with the average stock market return has been 10%, you would have over $1 million by the age of 65, which I think is something that this is providing people with the opportunity to do. So do you have any thoughts on that? I just think that's a really important way to frame this, is that encouraging people to save it compounds over time. So doing so early and often is really important.
No, absolutely. And I would just reiterate the data that was supported by Pew earlier that talks about $1 million. But of course, that changes depending on what your lifestyle is, right? So if you're accustomed to something a little bit more extravagant, you'll need more than $1 million. But that is certainly the goal, and I think that's supported by the data. Thank you.
Representative Kuntz.
One of my colleagues' favorite questions is to ask about profit. So I'm disappointed that Representative Wagala didn't do that. I'm getting better. So he didn't ask that. My question to you is, when TAA has more money under account, if this bill were to pass and funds were invested in TAA, you would benefit financially. TAA would benefit from this bill financially.
Actually, that is not going to affect TIA one way or the other. And the reason why is these plans are independently administered by other companies that may look like TIAA, but TIAA doesn't manage a single dollar in any of these plans that pass. So it really doesn't affect us. It would certainly benefit whoever is administering the program, but it's not us right now. We don't administer any of this.
On the funds under management.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Representative Wozniak.
Thank you. Are there any principal guarantees in any of the programs of the states right now? There's some investment programs you can get in that guarantee principal, and you don't go below that. Would these programs be similar to that?
It would obviously depend on the structure that is designed by the board, but for TIA specific, we have certain guarantees, but this, once again, wouldn't be a TIA program, so I can't really answer that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Locke.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We're now here from Amanda Fisher from NFIB.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Amanda Fisher. I am the State Director for NFIB in Michigan. NFIB, also known as the National Federation of Independent Business, is the nation's leading small business advocacy association. We have folks lobbying in all 50 states and Washington, D.C., and we've been doing it for over 80 years. So I really appreciate the chance to talk about this program. We are opposed to the bill as it is introduced. And let me share with you some of those reasons. One of the things that makes NFIB unique is that instead of going to a policy committee, we determine our positions by a survey of our members. So we put a background, a pro, a con, and ask a question. And we're trying to be very, very objective. And we ask the question about a mandated compliance for employers, a program that 87% of our members said absolutely not, we are opposed to this. Now, does that mean that small business owners, NFIB members, are opposed to a retirement savings account plan from the state? Absolutely not. But they are opposed to a mandated plan. And I keep hearing, I think we have some confusion. I completely agree. The legislation does not mandate that employees participate, but it does mandate that employers participate and offer it. And so I just want to make that incredibly clear because I think that has really been overlooked. And with all due respect to the senator a representative from Delaware, it's not necessarily as easy as he may say it is as far as hooking into payroll and such, especially when you have small business owners that maybe have 1 or 2 employees. They serve as the HR department, the accounting department, overseeing the business. And this is just one more thing that they have to do. And in fact, I know you hear me talk about regulation a lot, but I have to keep saying it because it's true, because we're not talking about bigger small businesses with over 50 employees. We're not talking about large corporations. We're talking about people your Main Street businesses that have a few employees. And regulation costs a lot. In fact, last year, the National Association of Manufacturers came out with a study, and this is just focusing on federal regulations alone, that for those businesses with under 50 employees, pay $14,700 per employee in federal regulations. So again, you're like, well, what's the big deal with this, or what's the big deal with that? But it really, much like a savings account, it all adds up. So my other issue with this mandate, and again, it is a mandate, is that it does put the responsibility on the employer to describe the program, to talk to the employee, say opt in or opt out. And although I appreciate in the bill, it says that the employer is not liable for anything that happens with the state program, I guarantee you the employee is going to look at their employer and hold them responsible. So I think that is just a huge issue. So I do have some solutions, and I just spoke with Representative McFall before the committee, and he and I are going to have some more discussions. I had not had a chance to talk to him before, so that is also on me. But I think a voluntary program could make sense. Now, any of you that know me know that my members and I do not like additional government programs, but I think setting something up that's voluntary, voluntary for an employer, but also that employees can go directly into this program without having to do it through an employer. I think that would be a solution that we could look at, that we would be okay with. But I just think that this mandate on small businesses is not just a little tiny thing. And I think that every mandate you put on employers, like I said, it just adds up. So this is something that honestly is not my main concern, but with the bill, but it is in the bill. So I'm going to bring it up because I have heard for the past hour how much everybody cares about small business and wants to help small business. I think we have different ways we would like to provide that help. And I think everybody has the best of intentions, so I'm not putting anything on that. However, in the bill, it talks about, and this is in section 14, paragraph 7, it actually states that the board shall establish and maintain a website designed to assist employers in identifying private sector providers of retirement arrangements that can be set up by the employer rather than participating in the program under this act. I think that's great, and frankly, why don't we have that website already to help small employers set up retirement accounts? That sounds actually to me like a great idea, but it goes on further. However, the board shall establish and maintain a website under this subsection only if private sector providers show sufficient interest in the website and furnish the funding necessary to establish and maintain it. That, to me, just exemplifies the issue we have with this bill and other bills. You say you want to help small business, but you want them to pay for it. And frankly, like I said, I think a website that puts that up there is great, but now you're saying, but we're only going to maintain it if you pay for it? Well, what is government doing to help small businesses? It is in the bill. Section 14, or paragraph 7, directly from the bill, unless there's a sub I don't know about that took it out. So, again, I support, I can support a voluntary program, but as it is, and mandating that employers have to participate, we cannot support. Again, 87% of my members responding said to not support. So that is where we are. Happy to take any questions, and I appreciate the time.
You're welcome, and thank you, Ms. Fisher. Representative Churches.
Thank you for being here today, Ms. Fisher. We also really care about our small businesses and our workers, so I acknowledge and appreciate your point of view. It makes me wonder. So a lot of times our constituents, they look for corporate jobs. I have a lot of constituents who strive to have a corporate job or a union job, something that ensures that they have a decent living, and a health plan and a retirement plan so that they can meet the needs of their family and the ever-changing needs in our society. And I see what you're saying, that this is creating an expectation for small businesses, but it is also striving to achieve something for workers. Do you think that the workers of small businesses, when compared to the workers of corporations, are less worthy of receiving opportunities to save money for themselves and their family?
Absolutely not. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying there's a very big difference between large corporations and what they are able to provide. I have members, and listen, I'm not saying it's all small businesses. There are bad actors everywhere, right? But most small businesses I know do everything they can to help their employees and do what their employees need. However, when we mandate certain things, that actually limits what the employer can do because you're adding all these additional costs with compliance. And I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is. And I would also note that if we really did care about small businesses, and I'm not saying I could support this, I would have to go back to my members, why don't we take some of the money that you're planning to give to large corporations through SOAR and other programs and give them to small businesses so that they can help support their employees? Because the large corporations do not need it. And all love to my friends with bigger members in the business community. But I would argue that that's inconsistent, that I see programs again and again designed to help bigger businesses, but not smaller businesses so they can help their employees. So, but I have members that literally, especially during the downturn in 2007, 2008, took out a second mortgage on their home so that they could pay their employees and did not pay themselves for a year. Mm-hmm. That's what small businesses do. So if small businesses, for the most part, aren't paying their employees what you think they should be paying or offering them benefits, it's not because they're out jet setting or doing those things. They literally cannot afford it. And so I think that's always been my concern when I hear about programs like this.
But is are small businesses not interested in utilizing a service to provide an opportunity to their employees, or are they less equipped to do that?
I think I don't think I can't say they're not interested, but
Would you say all your members aren't interested, or just some?
I would say that all of my members are interested in an opportunity, but not a mandate.
Representative Kuntz.
Ms. Fisher, the members of this committee just had the distinct pleasure of going through a financial disclosure through the Secretary of State. Are you alluding that State of Michigan websites are not intuitive and easy to use?
I am. I mean, some are actually, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due. But it is very difficult, and it's not something that can be turned around easily for the state, nor can it be turned around easily for both small business and larger businesses. I can tell you that it would be something there. I would be, as I said, my members want to do whatever they can for their employees because they're having trouble retaining talent as well. So I think offering a program like this that is voluntary, again, I think that makes sense. It is the mandate. So let's not, I just want to make that clear. You are mandating it. You are not making an offering.
Representative Andrews.
Thank you, Chair. I think we could have a great discussion about investing dollars in smaller businesses and not mega attraction projects. There's probably a lot of room to talk about that, just for what it's worth. But I wanted to say, so I was a small business owner. My parents, my family's, I have a lot of family members that were small business owners going way back. Some of them were NFIB members, for what it's worth. At least for periods of time. But my parents had sub 15 employees, between 10 and 15 for most of the time they were operating. They had to cash out their own retirement plans during the recession just to, stay in business and, keep the house, that sort of stuff. So, I appreciate the struggle that small business owners have to go through, growing up in a small business household. But we actually, our businesses, we started offering Roth plans in the last decade or so that my parents were in business before they sold. And while most of the employees didn't take them up on it, which is why I kind of appreciate this being opt-out instead of opt-in, because a lot of them just didn't, frankly, understand the value of having a retirement account. The few that did actually stayed with us longer, in part as a result of having that plan and a little bit of a match offered to it. And we were a business that was on the border with Indiana, and one of the issues that we had, as I'm sure a lot of your members have, is when you're in small business, it's not necessarily the highest wage jobs, and a lot of the employees, they'll be pretty transient. They'll move between industries, and in our case, they were often crossing the border into Indiana to take jobs down there, and we found that having these health plans helped keep employees a little bit longer, at least the couple that took advantage of it, and were ways that we could sort of level the playing field against some of the bigger companies that you could go to get a healthcare plan and a retirement plan. The best we could do was a Roth and some like Aflac coverage, right? We couldn't afford a big healthcare policy for all of our employees. So I just wanted to say that I think it's worth considering from that angle that having this sort of a thing available helps level that playing field out, and maybe something worth taking back to your members to think about is, if you're trying to retain, because training new employees is a huge cost on small businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
That was one of the things that we identified coming out of the recession, was that the turnover was costing us, honestly, raising wages and offering a plan, even though it seemed like an added cost, was actually a cost saver because we didn't have to keep training new employees, fewer accidents. We were quick lose what my parents' business was. Somebody screws up a car, that's a big cost. So,
yep.
Anyway, I more or less just wanted to, to say, have you guys sort of considered that retention aspect, and that this might actually end up helping make small businesses a little more competitive and help keep employees, in border areas in state instead of crossing out of state, some of those sorts of things that I think, maybe hidden benefits.
Yeah, and I completely appreciate that. And I'm going to reiterate, I am not opposed to the plan, and I don't think my members are opposed to the plan as it is, except that you must comply as an employer. Offer this, and I bet a lot of small businesses would be like, oh, this is great, I can do this. And that's wonderful. Let them take advantage of it. And that would help them then retain their employees. But when you mandate that they must do it, that's the problem we have. I've said it, but I want to keep saying it. I'm not opposed to this idea. As I would have to look at it more, but I am opposed to any kind of mandate. But I also think without small businesses having to pay for it, the state could, under MEDC, put up some options for 401k plans or Roth plans or something that small businesses could take advantage of that they might not be aware of. So I think there are several things we can do without mandating that employers have to act literally on behalf of the state without getting paid to do it, because they're literally the middleman, right? So, Representative Andrews, you could say they're independent contractors and you're not paying them when small businesses are doing that. I say that jokingly, but that's essentially what you're doing, because it's not the employer's program, it's a state program. So
Thank you. Representative Wakela.
I just had a question in regards to the survey, because I think, kind of pointed out earlier, like how surveys are structured can change the results. So like, do you have a copy of your question, and can we hear what the question was to members?
I do. We do a pretty, I think I included it, because I suspected somebody would ask, although it does not look like it printed out. So I apologize. I will get that to you. But essentially, it explained the program, gave the background, because this is when this was spreading all over, right? So it gave the background of why this bill was introduced. It literally listed the proponents, so a lot of what has been said here today so far, their argument, opponents' arguments, some of what I have said, and some things I haven't said. And we said, do you support a state or a mandated state-funded retirement program like this? And they said no. I can tell you, I'm opening the curtain a little bit. We're very careful to try and keep our questions as objective as possible, to the point where I have been disappointed by some of the results sometimes because I can't get involved in an issue I think I would like to. So please understand, we actually really do try and keep it that way, but I can get you a copy of the question.
Representative Colasar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your testimony. Yep. So in your testimony, you had mentioned about the requirement of employers to educate new employees on the program.
Yeah.
That's not true. There is no requirement in the bill for employers to educate employees. They simply have to enroll them, and the program reaches out to them. Additionally, the board has to disseminate information to the employers and employees. So I just want to make sure we're clear here that it doesn't require an employer to educate the employee on this new program.
Okay, but it does, just in general, if an employer, you're like, okay, opt in, opt out. Well, what is this all about? Well, I'm not going to tell you. The state will get in touch with you. So I think maybe we can meet in the middle, that it's somewhere. I just think from a practical sense, employers are going to have to know and talk about it.
Okay, well, there is an informational packet, though.
Right. But again, small business owners also work with their employees. They're going to help their employees, especially if they don't understand. And again, I think if this is a voluntary program, it just looks very different than we're mandating that employers do it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Nathan Glassy from the American Retirement Association. Good morning.
There you go. Thank you. And members of the committee, for the opportunity to testify in favor of House Bill 5461. My name is Nathan Glassy, and I'm appearing before you today on behalf of the American Retirement Association in support of House Bill 5461. I am currently serving as the Director of Federal and State Legislative Affairs for the ARA. And the ARA is a coordinating entity for its 5 underlying affiliate organizations representing the full spectrum of America's retirement system. Combined, the ARA represents over 35,000 retirement plan professionals nationwide. Prior to my current job, I worked as a third-party administrator for retirement plans all across the country. I worked to ensure that plans were compliant with plan-level administrative requirements. In that role, we supported small, medium, and large plans alike. Throughout my career, I have found that the small plan market is well underserved. Small businesses may decide to not set up a retirement plan for a couple of reasons. 1, cost, and 2, time. The passing of federal legislation, such as Secure 1.0 and Secure 2.0, has virtually eliminated one of these 2 reasons, cost. The credits that small businesses now receive to establish and run a retirement plan essentially cover the cost of setting up and establishing the plan. Now is the greatest opportunity for small businesses to establish a retirement plan for their employees. Research shows that participants are 15 times more likely to contribute to their retirement when they have an employer-sponsored plan. It is our desire to provide the best opportunity for participants to save for a secure retirement throughout their career. The best way to do so is to provide them with an employer-sponsored retirement plan. The second reason for not setting up a plan-sponsored plan is where things are still being held up, and that's time. The states that have passed similar bills to House Bill 5461 have provided the nudge to get small employers to set up a plan-sponsored retirement plan or to adopt the state plan. Either way, now those employees are 15 times more likely to contribute to their retirement, and that is a win for every participant. We support House Bill 5461 for the following 3 reasons. 1, secure choice programs such as Michigan Retirement Savings Program addresses racial inequities in retirement savings. Historically, workers in minority and underserved communities have faced barriers to accessing retirement plans due to limited access to workplace retirement plans. Expanding retirement plan coverage with automatic enrollment is key to addressing racial inequities in retirement savings. 2, secure choice programs are good for small businesses. The current policy problem is not that there is a lack of retirement products available to small businesses, but that many small business owners are too busy running their own businesses to focus on offering a retirement plan to their employees. So a nudge is needed to get them to act. 3, secure choice programs are in place in 16 states and counting. In recent years, state governments have taken steps to close the retirement plan coverage gap in their jurisdictions with the enactment of laws that mirror House Bill 5461. The legislation in other states has proven to narrow the coverage gap that exists for those working for small businesses. The ARA believes that House Bill 5461 strikes the proper balance to close the retirement plan coverage gap in the private sector workforce to the greatest extent possible while imposing the minimum possible burden on Michigan's employers. I've provided my written testimony as well to the committee members for the record. And on behalf of the ARA, I request that you pass House Bill 5461 out of committee, and I thank you for your consideration. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Glassy. Are there any questions? Representative Wozniak.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Do you have any idea how much the fees would be in these various programs that will be charged by the third-party administrator?
So as far as the state retirement plan or adopting of a 401k plan?
The state's retirement plan.
State retirement program, there'd be no fees in that because it's a state-run plan, so that would be run by the funding company, whether it be like a TIACREF, as was mentioned before, or whatever company then was selected by the board. But the administrative fees are all done within the encapsulated inside the program.
So the state would pay the fees?
I think that from what it said, within 3 years it pays for itself within the fees, but it is that initial statement, like Senator Pettyjohn had mentioned, that 1.2 million, I think it was in Delaware that he had mentioned.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
We're next hear from Maddie Elliott from Michigan's Children. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Maddie Elliott, and I'm a Policy and Programs Associate at Michigan's Children. We are a nonpartisan organization that advocates for public policies in the best interest of kids and families. Our nonprofit advocates with and on behalf of families in need of childcare, early interventionists, childcare providers, foster care and kinship care families, homeless youth, adult learners, and young people involved in the juvenile justice system. Michigan's Children is very supportive of House Bill 5461 because the childcare industry would benefit tremendously from being given the opportunity to provide retirement benefits options to their employees. The same goes for direct care organizations who engage with homeless youth, foster children, adult learners, and young people involved in the juvenile justice system. Currently, childcare educators and direct care workers make poverty wages. The average hourly wage of a childcare educator in Michigan is $12 an hour, and their employers compete for staff with large companies like McDonald's and large box stores. Most childcare educators do not receive any benefits like health insurance and retirement savings accounts. Giving them access to an IRA through payroll deduction is imperative for them to feel more financially secure. and provide a benefit for employers to offer at no cost and with low administrative processing to retain workers in the field. The tragic reality is that most childcare educators who make lasting impacts on the educational and life trajectory of young children will not have the funds to ever retire. Much more needs to be done in terms of wages and benefits. I want to be clear that this is not a silver bullet for the Michigan's childcare system, and I would be really happy to talk with all of you about how we can help childcare businesses open and stay open to serve families by increasing childcare scholarship rates to childcare businesses, by supporting the governor's proposal to give all educators access to the childcare scholarship for their own children, by removing the immense barriers that families face in accessing the childcare scholarship, and by supplementing childcare educators' wages. But with House Bill 5461, our state can take a step toward ending the cycle of not prioritizing children's first teachers by making it easier for childcare educators to access IRA accounts. As childcare educators struggle to just afford the basics of living, they do not have time or the right guidance to set up an IRA on their own. It can be an intimidating process for those not well-versed in retirement options and financial security, and they're not likely to work with a financial consultant to help them navigate the process of choosing the best IRA for their financial situation. On top of that, it's confusing for many lower wage workers who may have never been given the opportunity to learn about saving and the importance of saving for their financial future. At a time when the childcare industry in Michigan and nationally is looking for additional tools to attract qualified, attentive childcare educators, Michigan can boldly support childcare businesses and all lower wage workers by passing House Bill 5461 and giving them an easy option to save for retirement. Many in-home childcare providers are one-woman shows, you could say, acting as a childcare business owner, childcare educator, preschool teacher, program improvement specialist, cook, janitor, the whole shebang. If you passed House Bill 5461, it would give these small business owners who are institutions of their communities one tool in their toolbox to offer employees a benefit that they otherwise could not afford as a business with razor-thin profit margins. Michigan's Children supports HB 5461 and is particularly appreciative of the bill sponsor's approach to ensure flexibility for employees to choose to opt in at any point, change contribution levels to what suits them as low-wage workers, give Michiganders an account that they can own and that follows them across their working lives and allows funds to be accessed penalty-free at any point since financial emergencies can occur. We encourage members of the committee to support this proven policy as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott. Are there any questions? Thanks for your testimony this morning. We also have cards to read in relation to the bill. Jacob Manning from the Small Business Association of Michigan doesn't wish to speak but opposes the bill. Jill Nelson from Hot Diggity Dog Walking and Pet Sitting doesn't wish to speak but supports the bill. Chuck May of the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors Michigan opposes the bill as written, would become neutral with amendment. Amy Drum of the Michigan Retailers Association opposes the bill. Frank Venuto from the American Council of Life Insurers is neutral presently, would support the NAIFA Michigan amendments, and then would support the bill. Kevin Hurd from the Detroit Regional LGBT Chamber of Commerce supports the bill. And Jessica Ackmoody from the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan, or CDAM, supports the bill. There be no further activity before this committee. We stand adjourned.